Now for the post. I know this seems like a weird situation, but I just feel so angry and depressed that I feel the need to vent even if no one is listening. So I, female 17, was recently forgotten about on the day of my parents' wedding. My parents have been together for about 25 years, but they never actually got married. That's why when my dad, male 50, proposed to my mother, female 49, on their anniversary, which they have always celebrated on the date my mother found out she was pregnant with my eldest sister, even though they were already together before, everyone, including me, was elated and celebrated the occasion with great joy. This happened all the way back in February. They immediately jumped into wedding planning, deciding very early on a small event in Hawaii with just the closest family and friends for an intimate ceremony. Almost immediately, my mother asked my sister, female 25, to be her maid of honor, and my dad asked my brother, male 22, to be his groomsman. I wasn't surprised or offended by this. My sister had always been a mommy's girl, and they both enjoyed spending time with each other, shopping and socializing, so they had a very close bond, and the same goes for my father and brother. They always played football together and messed around with cars. My father even trained my brother's team for a while in middle school. That had always left me as the odd one out. I tried to insert myself into my family's hobbies and groups that they had within our home, but was always rebuffed. Maybe they could sense that my interest in their activities wasn't all that genuine, or maybe they just didn't care. Either way, I was used to being the last and least important member of my family. Mom had sis and dad had bro. My parents had each other, and my two siblings were closer to each other than they ever were to me, leaving me very lonely and isolated in my own home. During the preparation for the wedding initially, it was suggested that I be the flower girl, but my sister thought that role would be more appropriate for her daughter, female 3, so that idea was quickly tossed away. Later on, my maternal grandmother suggested that I might read a poem or do a little bit of a speech during the ceremony, but both my parents refused because they wanted the wedding to be low-key, and they didn't think a cheesy and sappy speech would fit their vision, their literal words. I was still okay with all of this, even though it hurt to know I would be the only member of the family to not actually be part of the wedding party or have any role at all on the day. As the day approached, my parents and siblings got more and more caught up in all the wedding planning. I noticed my mom didn't invite me dress shopping, and that whenever they would have discussions about the venue or the event, I was left out. So I decided to see if they would realize that I wasn't being involved at all, and kept quiet, waiting for them to ask me something, anything, about the wedding, but that never happened. The wedding was set for 3 weeks ago, the end of August. The day before the departure, my mother casually asked if I had my luggage ready because we couldn't be late to the airport. I bluntly told her that I hadn't prepared anything. She got confused for a second and then snapped at me for not being prepared. I then asked her if I even had a ticket, and her face went pale. Yep, they hadn't even bought me a ticket, and I'm not even sure if I had a room or any accommodations once there. Even though I was the only person in my family without a stable income, I work as a part-time babysitter. My parents had bought first-class tickets for my siblings and the couple of other friends that were attending the wedding but had forgotten me. My mom told me not to make a big deal out of it and that they can just find me a low-cost ticket last minute from a cheap airline, but I just replied by asking her, "Then what? Do I even have a dress for the ceremony?" She went with sis to buy hers and all the other female guests months ago, but I wasn't included. That's when my father came in and just told me to suck it up and that I've never been a girly girl, so I could just wear whatever. I got mad at this because even though I'm not the most feminine girl on the planet, I would have loved to be included in such an important part of my parents' wedding. And it was about the fact that I was excluded from literally everything that had been going on for months. We all got into a fight with them, calling me entitled and accusing me of making myself small intentionally so they would forget me. Like that is a valid excuse for ignoring a child. They ended up telling me that if I was going to keep this attitude, I might as well skip the whole thing altogether, to which I responded with a defiant "fine" and went to my room. The next morning, they all left for Hawaii without me. The ceremony was really small, but they all posted loads of pictures on Instagram and Facebook about how perfect and magical that whole week was being. People realized quickly that I wasn't in any of the photos and asked my parents why, to which they replied that unfortunately I had caught infection 19 before the trip and had to stay behind. My blood boiled at this. I don't know why this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, but it was. I decided to take a infection 19 test and published a picture of myself holding the negative test and captioned it, "Not sick at all, just forgotten." I tagged everyone that had questioned my absence from the trip and the wedding in the picture, and for good measure, also every person invited to it. I also wrote in the comments about how my parents had literally forgotten about anything to do with me until the day before parting and how they actually uninvited me. Most people were on my side, and others couldn't believe it and thought there must be something more to the story than what I was saying. But one thing is for certain, I completely ruined my parents' wedding, and their day was overshadowed by my confession. At first, I felt quite satisfied with myself for standing up on my own, but after a barrage of messages from my family calling me every name in the book, and later, when they came back, them furiously attacking me for my immature actions and my spoiled behavior, my pride deflated quickly, and I began to feel awful. I hate my family, and I hate being in this house, but I'm a minor and can't leave just yet. I do feel like I could have handled the situation better though, and now I feel so depressed that I'm second-guessing everything I did, from not speaking up before to the way I exposed them. I also feel guilty for the lack of connection between all of my family and me, and maybe I could have done more. So am I the idiot for ruining my parents' wedding when they forgot about me? Now for some comments. Front Rip 464 said, "NTA, your parents fricked up. They know it. Your siblings also fricked up. They also know it. And you weren't making them look bad with your social media posts. You were correcting a lie. I hope you are able to qualify for a full-ride scholarship, because something tells me you don't have much of a college fund, if any." Lulu9902 added, "They spent the college fund on the first-class plane tickets for everyone but OP." Disastrous B1557 mentioned, "Bold of you to assume there was ever a college fund in the first place." Now for the post. Not the idiot too. Can you move in with grandma? Their history of rebuffing you whenever you try to participate with them says this wasn't a one-off. It's like they don't even consider you family. No judge is going to force you back to their house at 17. If you have a place to go, get your things and your documents and go. Now for a few comments. A Kalia Wolf song. I have a similar family dynamic to OP, although I'm the oldest. I wasn't asked to go on family vacations. My birthday was always forgotten about. If my mom and younger siblings wanted to go out to eat for family dinner while I was at work, they would leave and not say a word to me. OP, not the idiot. Don't let them make you feel guilty. As soon as I could, I moved out. Didn't say a word to anyone in my immediate family, just packed a bag and was gone. I'm no contact with everyone, but my little sister, and even she is on probation with regards to visits and hanging out. I'm sorry for you, and that we are on the same boat. I want to move out, but I have no place to go now. I had a summer job besides babysitting, and I've been saving up some money, but I live in a very expensive city, and I need another job before I can plan anything. Be strong. Don't let them get under your skin. Even if you have to get roommates or move in with a friend, leave as soon as you're comfortable with finances. There are Facebook groups and such for looking for roommates, especially in HCOL areas. I know that's what I should be doing. I do have a friend that is moving to a studio apartment near our college, but I don't have a job at the moment, and I don't want to be a burden to her. She and I are close, so I'm sure she would offer for me to move in with her, but I don't want to be a burden. Also, I don't have a job at the moment, so I couldn't pay rent, so that's something else I need to do at the moment. Now for the update. 4 days later. Hi everyone. I wanted to write an update earlier, but I'm still kind of a mess at the moment. But I figured, since my post had such an overwhelming response and so many people commented and sent me messages, that I should write about the latest developments. First of all, let me start by thanking all that commented on my post and shared their own experiences or points of view on my situation. Thank you so much. A few days ago, I could barely find the energy to get out of bed, and my family's comments had made me really believe that I was guilty for all that had passed. But after seeing the responses to my post and all the support you guys were giving me, I felt somewhat reaffirmed in my actions and feelings towards my family. I'm still fighting the feelings of guilt and depression, but whenever I start to spiral, I think on how much this community of strangers has had my back, and I try to calm myself down with your words. Thanks to your input and advice, I finally decided to call my grandma and tell her the full story. Just to clarify a point before going on, I said this in the comments, but I feel like I should put it here also. My Grandma 77F did not attend the wedding. She lives several states away and has mobility issues, so she doesn't travel anymore. We went to visit her around Easter, and that's when she commented that I might read a poem at the ceremony, but that was the last time I saw her in person before all this. She's always been very loving to me and has called out my parents in the past for their favoritism, but it's hard for her to play a more active role in my upbringing since she lives so far, and I am always worried about bothering her due to her age and health condition. She had a minor stroke a few years back and is now back to normal, but I still worry. Anyway, I called her and laid out everything that had happened with the wedding and how my parents didn't even buy me a ticket to go with them. But she came to the same conclusion that most commenters did when I told her that it was simply impossible, that they had forgotten, and that they did it on purpose. I cried on the phone with her, laying out how I was feeling, how this has been going on forever, how I feel in the aftermath, and most importantly, about my need to get out. She was extremely sweet and comforting to me and told me that I had nothing else to worry about because she had my back 100%, and told me to take it easy but make plans for my future and that she'd help me. After that conversation, which lasted about 2 hours, I felt better, and I decided to listen to her and start moving to figure something out for the next school year. I have a friend who is going to lease a studio next to our future campus. She has a great relationship with her parents, but she has 5 younger siblings and wants to be more independent, so that's why she decided to move out. I asked her if I could move in with her temporarily and that I would pay her rent as soon as I got a job. She immediately accepted and told me not to worry about rent or anything else until I was in a better position, and we had a good cry together when I told her all about my parents' wedding incident. So this all happened a couple days ago, and I was planning on doing the update then, but my grandma called my parents and my siblings to lecture them about how they were treating me. My brother just sent me a text afterwards with a half-hearted apology saying that he didn't know I wasn't included and that he just thought I wouldn't have fun on the trip, and then I posted the pic just to create drama. My sister, on the other hand, berated me and told me that I kept trying to make public my own problems and pinning them on my family when they are all innocent. It has been weird with my parents ever since they came back from the trip, and at first they berated me and were furious with me, and after that we've just been ignoring each other. After my grandma called them, they came into my room telling me that if I wanted to put this whole issue to rest, I should shut up about it, and that this could all had already blown over if only I had kept my mouth shut. I just asked them to leave my room, and then I called my grandma again to tell her what had gone down. She then told me that she and my uncle had bought plane tickets to come down to see me. This was something that I was actually scared about because my grandma's health is not the best, and this kind of effort is a lot for her, and I know how complicated it is for her to get on a plane, so I tried to dissuade her from coming and told her everything would be okay. But she wouldn't listen and told me that she was long overdue a conversation with my parents and that she wanted to see me. I'm stressed for her, and I feel again like I forced her to take a long, uncomfortable trip because of me, and that maybe I should have dealt with this myself. I do want to see her, and I wish for nothing more than to hug her right now, but I'm worried about her. At least my uncle, Mom's older brother, is coming with her. But I hope she doesn't exhaust herself or nothing happens to her, because that would break me. They arrive tomorrow and have not informed my parents of their trip. My grandma asked me to keep it until she gets here. I hope she is able to make my parents see the mistake in their actions, or, at the very least, help me break the news to them that I'm moving out very soon, and I plan on being no contact with them. I don't know. I'm worried about her having to do so much for me and bothering her, but I also appreciate and love her so much for doing all this for me. Now for a few comments. Wow, your grandma is amazing. It's so great that she has your back and is willing to stand up to your parents. And don't worry about her making the trip. She sounds like a strong and determined woman. Plus, you deserve to have someone on your side who will fight for you. Keep us updated on how everything goes with your family, and remember, you have a whole community here to support you. Best of luck with your future plans. Now for a few comments. A commenter said she should use her oxygen tank to beat some sense into them. Another commenter added, "No, you're not the jerk. Your parents should have never forgotten about you on their special day, and it's not your responsibility to cover for their mistake. Kudos to you for standing up for yourself." Then another commenter said, "Replace forgotten about with excluded. I'm sorry OP's parents and siblings are POS, but that won't change. OP is on the right track. Move out, don't look back, and live your best life moving forward." Am I the idiot for not warning my best friend's ex-husband about her plan to ghost him after their divorce? I will leave all ages, names, and location anonymous because, read below, my best friend and her ex-husband were couple goals. At least I know that my best friend loved him so much. When she found out that he cheated on her with a coworker, she was in so much pain that she miscarried. She left him, of course. After a short while, we heard that he started dating that college. I gave her more pain, and it didn't help that the woman was gloating about it on social media. Anyway, my friend started speaking to her ex again and told him that she missed him, etc. He left the coworker, but then my best friend said that she couldn't forgive him anyway and broke it off again. Again, he started to date the coworker again. This time, the coworker demanded that they got married because of what he did when he left her. This time, my friend was very cool about it. She wasn't in pain, and she just said, "Oh well." They got married last August. Today, I know why she has been too cool about it. She has been talking to him again, and before resuming any relationship with him, she wants him to get divorced. Then she told me that once he is divorced, she will tell him that she didn't want him anymore. I was shocked. I told her so, but she was very indifferent, saying that she didn't lease him on, didn't sleep with him, and didn't promise him anything. Just that she wouldn't want to have anything to do with him if he was married. I told her that this was going too far, but she got upset and told me that I would be the AH if I warned any of them. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments. K. Italy said, "Frankly, the most important thing for you here is helping your friend move on. Whether she is an A or not doesn't matter. She shouldn't spend her time plotting revenge because it is not healthy for her." OP responded, "That's the thing. I am not sure if she is handling the situation the best way to move on. I am worried about her." Kaylee replied, "I agree, but that is not going to be solved by telling the ex. Leave the ex to his own devices. He is obviously an idiot anyway. Try to help your friend to move on for real if you can. She might need therapy, especially grief therapy for the miscarriage." Turbulent Message 637 commented, "YWBTA. The ex and his girlfriend or wife will probably not believe you because you are the ex's best friend, and your best friend will not forgive you for betraying her confidence. Stay out of it and tell your friend that you don't want to hear any more about her plans." Now for the 5-month update. So here is my update on what happened to my best friend and her ex-husband. I ended up not warning the ex-husband like you guys advised me not to. Again, I will not divulge any information about locations, names, or a go. Shortly after my post, my best friend asked her ex-husband to make his divorce announcement public, to say how he regretted it and how he still loved her and wanted things to work out between them. I guess she wanted everything to be on social media for everyone to see. He was more than willing to do it. Afterwards, he thought everything was going to be fine between them because he did everything she told him to. He showered her with flowers sent to her place every morning, and expensive gifts that my best friend just kept in her hall, unopened. She told him that she didn't trust him yet because as long as the divorce wasn't finalized, he could always take advantage of her and go back to his coworker. The divorce was finalized last week, and of course, the first thing her ex did was calling her to tell her the news. After that, she ghosted him, and she hasn't answered his calls since. I met her yesterday, and she was so elated. I have never thought that vindictiveness and revenge would make someone this happy. She said that this was the first time she felt happy since she found out about the affair. I felt very sad inside, and I don't know why. I love my friend, and I don't want her to change, but I don't recognize her very much. I asked her if this was it, if she really felt happy, and she said that she did. She was very ready to move on. I asked her what if he and the college ended up back together. She said that she would not care at all, that she hoped they would get back together now with what happened always being between them, but that she wouldn't begrudge them moving on. Separately or together, she didn't care anymore. She sent back all the unopened gifts. I don't know what to feel, but terrible sadness. These two loved each other more than anything and were so happy together at one point in their lives. And now, and my friend, she was the kindest person I know. And now, oh well, this is my update. Now for a few comments. CoolStick8672 said, "There's a reason people hate cheaters so much. The damage it does is severe." Consistent Ad 5709 commented, "Let me get this straight. 1. He cheats coworker, causes her a late miscarriage. 2. Dates coworker. 3. Begs for wife back. They talk, he's still a cheater, she doesn't trust him, so he goes back to the same coworker. 4. Marries the coworker, so he won't leave her again, still begs for ex. She said publicly declare love and divorce her. 5. Long-term revenge. He divorces coworker and tries to win her back. Friend is finally at peace. The reason she doesn't care, your friend showed the OW, coworker. He will always want her. He is still a cheater and nothing special. And if the coworker take him back, they will now have all of this between them. I can see why she is at peace now. Hopefully she will move on now. Just be her friend and support her. These two loved each other more than anything and were so happy together at one point in their lives. Love wasn't enough for him to betray her and cause her the most pain a person can have." OP responded, "That CT was all over social media gloating about her relationship with him. Emma literally copy-pasted her exact words and verbiage for her ex to use as he announced how happy he was that she was giving him a second chance. Exact same words. He made many posts about how regretful he was and how we will not mess this chance. Now she has deleted all of her social media, probably out of shame and humiliation." Big Zucchini 9800 commented, "I get where you're coming from, but I think she was in the right. He made vows to your friend and broke them. Her child died, and the whole life she had planned died with it. She showed his new wife just how little his vows mean to him, and how little both women mean to him. Sure, it was entrapment, but it only worked because he's an awful person. If he had stayed loyal to his new wife, then your friend would have had to move on. He didn't. I get that you're worried about who she is now, but she is still grieving her child, relationship, life, future. Anger is a perfectly healthy phase of grief. There is a good chance she goes back to being exactly who you thought she was. Now you know she is capable of standing up for herself and not being so kind that she ends up a doormat." Revolutionary Bad 44/7 you added, "Maybe I'm a bad person at heart because I think what she did was pretty badass lol. Men screw over women every day. Women sit around and cry and complain, but this what they should do. Sweet revenge. Am I the idiot for divorcing my husband after he blew our money on fast food and gaming while I worked 60 hours a week? I have been with my husband, male 27, for almost 3 years. We eloped and almost immediately were expecting. We were both very excited and everything was perfect until the baby came. Our daughter is 1 now. For the entire first year of her life, he came home from work, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day, and immediately took a nap that ranged from 2 to 4 hours long. On his days off, he insisted that I get up with her while he slept in, and when he did finally get up, he gamed until he was ready for his daily nap. The household chores started piling up because I was caring for our daughter full-time and working from home nearly 60 hours a week. I expressed feeling like I was doing everything on my own, and I needed help with the household chores, or for him to watch her so I could take care of the house. He was dismissive and said he actually goes to work and wants to be able to relax when he comes home. An argument breaks out. I cry. He takes her for an hour. I do what I can in that time. The cycle continues. This argument happened at least 7 times before she was 8 months old. Right after she reached 7 months, we got a vacate or pay notice. I had given him control of the finances because it was too much for me to balance a baby, maintaining the house, and working. I asked him about it, and he said it was fine. He just had to wait for his paycheck. Ultimately, I found out that he was buying fast food for lunch every day at work, and sometimes on the way home and eating it in the car so I wouldn't know. McDonald's was single-handedly draining our bank accounts. Our bank accounts, not just his. I didn't leave the house very often unless it was for grocery shopping, so I didn't notice that he had my debit card as well. We ended up not being able to pay rent. We moved into the family room in my mom's basement. Several key events then happened that you need for context. I sold my car so we would have some money, but so stupidly put the money into my bank account instead of holding on to it. We now had only one car. He lost his job due to attendance issues, consistently calling out and being late, and got a new job with less hours and less pay. I got laid off because the contract I was working under in my company expired and their partners didn't want to renew it. We decided it would be easier for me to just stay home with the baby instead of finding a job outside the home. Really, it would just require us to put my daughter in daycare so I could go work, but we didn't have the money and he was still spending money recklessly, so we weren't able to save up any money for it. My mom removed me as a second beneficiary on her will because she didn't trust that my husband would allow me have control of the money I would get to take care of my 2 minor siblings. That turned into a huge argument between him and I because I see why my mom chose to do that. I told him he needs to start acting like a responsible adult who has a child to provide for, because I would leave him if his behavior came between me and my ability to take care of my family. He reluctantly gave me all the debit cards and said something along the lines of, "It's great to know your whole family thinks I'm so terrible." We got our tax return and the money got spent on a PS5, a year-long PS Plus membership, gamed for the PS5, and fast food. More context events. He started being protective of his phone. Won't let me use it for a quick search, to call my phone when I can't find it, or even just for the flashlight. He started drinking frequently and wanting to go to a nearby dive bar by himself, claiming he wanted to be alone and insisting that he doesn't want me to go. He got a boot on the car while he was at said bar. He called me at 2 a.m. asking if I had $105 in my Venmo so he could pay to get the boot off. I did not. I got mad and told him to figure it out himself. He came home and I confronted him about our financial situation. I asked for the receipt or service ticket from the boot, and he said he didn't get either of those from the security people. He says he'll turn over all financially control to me. Spoiler, he doesn't follow through. Flash forward to the Wednesday after her first birthday. I want to take a shower around 2 before I go to my sister's rugby game at 5. I ask him to watch our daughter so I can go shower. He makes a big deal of having to start prep for dinner and that he was about to eat lunch. I told him I can wait. I just need to be in the shower by 3:30 so I can have time to get myself and the baby ready to go by 4:30 when we need to leave. He says, "Okay, I think I can do that. In the future, it'd be easier if you shower at night when she's sleeping." I had a physical response to that comment. To this point of her entire life, I had only been doing exactly that. And at this point, her molars are coming in, so she's not sleeping well. Just a couple days before this conversation, I had tried to shower after she went to sleep, but she didn't stay asleep. Instead of getting up and trying to soothe her, he called me and said, "Where are you?" "I'm in the shower." "Well, she's awake. Okay, help her. I have to work in the morning. Okay, I'm in the shower. We'll just get out and come take care of her. Back to the current conversation, we start arguing about him not being available to help me with her. I told him he always finds some excuse to avoid taking care of her, and he says he doesn't know how to take care of a baby. In the end, he watches her while I shower, but while watching her, packs away his PS5 and makes a point of telling me that since he's so unavailable, he just won't do anything he wants to do. That Friday is my cousin's 18th birthday. We have a tradition of taking the new adult to the strip club, and I was so excited to go. I asked my husband if he would watch her while I go. I explained that she would already be in bed and that I wouldn't need the car or money because I was getting a ride and someone was going to pay my cover fee. I wasn't interested in getting dances, just hanging out and making fun of my cousin as he awkwardly gets some TNA shaken in his face. He, surprisingly, agrees with no resistance. I go and vent to my aunt and female cousin about the shower argument. We stop by the bar next door while my cousin gets a private dance and I have a couple drinks. Now for a few comments. A commenter said, 6 years of misery sound awful. I would very much hate that. OP responded that it started when the swinging ended. By the time I got home, I was hyped up on spiced rum, and f that, I would have left already responses. I go through his phone while he's sleeping. I found messages and messages with other women on his phone that include flirting, exchanging nudes, and him asking if they can host because he has roommates. Some of them are escorts that work the area around the dive bar that he's been going to lately. And I had a flashback to the boot situation. I screenshotted all the messages and sent them to myself. I look through his bank statements and Venmo transactions and see that he's been pulling all our money out in cash, so there's no way of knowing where it's going. I messaged him. Yes, he was sleeping in the bed next to me while I did all this, and just go off. I let out all my thoughts and feelings about our financial situation, him avoiding taking care of our daughter, the messages, and how I feel for having let him manipulate me for all this time. When he woke up to that, his first question to me was, "Why did you go through my phone?" Needless to say, we separated. I didn't and haven't used the word divorce to him, but that may be the end result. He kept talking about how he has nowhere to go, and I'm throwing him out on the street, then switching over to he loves me so much and he'll do anything to keep me in his life, and then spitefully saying he's gonna do better and succeed, and you'll see. I stood my ground and made him leave. I laid out my expectations, saying I won't even consider taking him back until he consistently goes to therapy, which I expect him to continue. If I take him back, he shows me he can be financially responsible for even one person, himself, and he makes an effort to maintain a relationship with our daughter, not me. It's been 2 weeks and things have been awful. I've been literally taking notes on things that are happening because I know this traumatized brain of mine is not going to remember how I have been feeling throughout the process or how I felt the day I told him to leave. It's been 2 weeks and I already have 8 pages of notes about negative interactions I've had with him, in contrast with the single paragraph of something positive that he did. Last night, he told me he's scared. He's going to do all this for nothing. That I won't take him back, even if he tries his best. And that he just wants to come home. I want things to work out because we were happy once. Maybe I'm holding out for nothing. He has constantly made me feel like I'm the bad guy for not letting him stay with me while he makes the changes I expect of him. Now I have these thoughts in my head. Am I the bad guy? Should I have tried to let him make changes while staying in the home? I just need some outside perspective, whether it's reassuring or constructive. Thank you. Now for the update. Okay, back in May, I, 23, female, made a post about my now ex-husband's, 27, male, behavior that led to us separating. I mentioned feeling like I was holding out on divorce because we were happy once. But since then, things have changed. After making my post, I read every comment that came in. I consulted with my close family members and friends, and within a week, I had told him I wanted to go through with divorce. He was mad, accused me of seeing someone else, incorrect, and then told all our mutual friends that I was out to get him, being a and trying to take our daughter away from him, and that I was only divorcing him for looking at corn, i.e. the nudes from the escorts, see previous post. He threatened a couple times to flee to California as he is on probation and forget we exist. But nevertheless, I kept all the advice and support in mind, stood my ground, and started filling out the papers. My mom and I filled out the divorce papers together. She has been divorced twice and wrote her own papers both times because, 1, she could not afford a lawyer, and 2, she is so incredibly smart and resourceful and just figured it out on her own. In case you couldn't tell, I love and admire my mom so much. She is familiar with the process in the state we live in and knew every document that we needed and how to fill them out or write our own should we need to modify parts of it. I filed, handed the papers to him myself, and told him he has a week to fill out his voluntary affidavit of service and return the papers to the courthouse, or I would have him served by a third party. He did not follow through, and neither did I. I kept putting it off until one day he called me out of the blue to tell me he had filed it and got the final divorce decree for us to fill out and file. I was a little shocked that he wasn't going to fight anything. I put in the papers, but went along with it before he changed his mind. Just for reference, I did in fact do everything in my power to make the divorce fair, because despite the way I was treated, I was raised better than to be spiteful, especially when children are involved. We do not have any large price property to divide aside from his car, which he had before we got married, and I gave myself majority custody because to my knowledge, he was sleeping on his friend's couch while I have her crib, dresser, toys, etc. set up in my room at my mom's house. I also have a much larger support system in the area, so even if I am struggling financially, I have people I can lean on in those times of need to provide food, diapers, clothes, etc. for her, whereas he does not have that. And that's not a jab at him, just a plain fact. We met up the following day, went to the courthouse, filled and filed the final decree. I have already gotten the final decree signed by the judge via mail. It was weird seeing the sudden flip in behavior, but I welcomed it. And then he told me he has a girlfriend and they're moving in together, yada yada. And my immediate thought was, this poor girl is going to get used for her stability. So they are moving in together. She is older than him, has 3 kids of her own, a stable career, and owns a house. I met her, and she seems very nice and friendly. She also made some comments toward him that made me both laugh and feel like she will not tolerate his lack of effort when it comes to being a dad. Whether or not he is using her for her stability and a place to live is not my business. My only concern is the safety and well-being of my child. I did dip my toe into the dating world, but if I'm being honest with myself and everyone else, I am definitely not ready for that right now, and I took my toe out and thoroughly dried it off. I have myself and my child to focus on right now. That is the update. Thank you to everyone who commented before and helped me to find some common sense, whether your words were gentle or not. It was much needed and appreciated.